morning. I am Kathy Owens, Director of the Department of Finance and Management for the City of Columbus. On behalf of Mayor Andrew J. Ginther, I would like to welcome you to the Hilltop Early Learning Center. This center is an exciting addition to the Hilltop community, and it represents Mayor Ginther's vision for investing in our neighborhoods and ensuring that every Columbus child is prepared to thrive in kindergarten. I would like to thank construction management, real estate management, the Mayor's Office of Education, and the finance budget team for their endless work on the construction and programming of the pre-K center and the preparation of the budget. As we all know, budgets communicate priorities and values. I am pleased to announce that the proposed 2023 operating budget is a balanced budget, built around core values of economic stability, health and well-being, safe and resilient communities. The operating budget totals $2.3 billion, of which $1.1 billion is for general fund operating expenses. Due to the Mayor's leadership, our 2023 operating budget will maintain critical city services while making important investments in neighborhood safety and violence prevention, pre-kindergarten and after-school programming, as well as expanded access to human services and recreation and parks programming. This budget also enhances economic stability by maintaining funding in our Basic City Services Fund and establishing a new rainy day goal of $114 million by 2027. Mayor Ginther established a balanced approach of sustaining key city services, expanding, creating new programs to address the evolving needs of our communities, and maintaining adequate reserves to meet future needs in a continued climate of fiscal uncertainty. I am excited. I am very excited that our budget meets these goals. With that, I would like to introduce my mayor, our mayor, Mayor Andrew J. Ginther. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Director, and thank you to your entire team and the Department of Finance and all of our departments and staff. It is a beautiful morning here on the Hilltop in an exciting place. This is the quietest this center will ever be, because come next year, Gina and her team, this place is going to be hopping, and they're going to be little ones literally climbing the walls, enjoying an incredible new place here. So I want to thank the director, though, and her team who have helped to make this possible. I also want to thank your team and our partnership with Auditor Kilgore. Columbus is, once again, ready and poised to make unprecedented investments in our neighborhoods. The 2023 operating budget is the largest ever in city history, and the second time as in many years we have presented a general fund budget totaling more than $1 billion. Budgets, though, are more than just ledgers and line items. They're based on our values. Folks often say, don't tell me what you believe in, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you believe in. They transform our ideas and our thinking into a reality, just like here at the Hilltop Early Learning Center, which will be receiving $3.1 million from this budget for their operating expenses as they welcome children into the classrooms for the very first time. Think about it. When we started this work, there are 2,000 children that live on the Hilltop, 2,000 4-year-olds. Only 152 of them were enrolled in high-quality early learning preschool. When this center is fully open and operational, we will nearly triple that number of 4-year-olds enrolled in high-quality early learning. That is what Opportunity Rising is all about. This budget's about equity and opportunity, and it emphasizes our continued focus on our community's highest priorities: safety, affordability, and vital city services. We do not take this responsibility lightly. nor do we take for granted the financial strength we presently enjoy. All of this requires careful, prudent decision-making to make the right investments today and to sustain them in the years ahead. This budget is made possible despite historic headwinds, the single largest revenue loss in the city history during the pandemic, continued uncertainty surrounding remote work legislation and its impact on municipal income tax revenues, rising inflation, rising interest rates, a global supply chain still showing signs of stalling, and sporadic shortfalls. The challenges we face are varied and complex, but our city, unlike so many others across the nation and around the world, has succeeded in finding innovative paths forward. We've bucked the trends, maintaining city services without eliminating a single position. Our local labor market has recovered to pre-pandemic levels. Income tax revenues are rebounding, a crucial factor considering that approximately 80% of our general fund, those revenues come from income tax collections. And we invested the vast majority of our federal stimulus dollars, totaling $405 million, to keep our neighbors housed, fed, and able to pay their utility bills while making sure businesses stayed afloat. I want to take a moment to pause and thank President Biden, Congresswoman Beatty, and Senator Sherrod Brown, who all supported the American Rescue Plan, and the Democratic and Republican mayors from around the country that stepped up to support it as well. We are in the position we are in large part because of their courage to take some difficult, important steps. This is the Columbus way, working together to persevere through tough times so that we may emerge with the resources and roadmap we need to make bold investments in our future. Earlier this week, we announced more than $707 million for neighborhood safety, including $10 million for 3 police and fire recruit classes to bolster and diversify our city's safety forces, keeping pace with 2022 when we added more police officers than any other time in recent history. We're also creating the Office of Violence Prevention to coordinate holistic safety responses citywide, a key recommendation from the Columbus Board of Health and Dr. Roberts as they address gun violence as a public health crisis. And we're expanding resources for departments and divisions, working to advance the revised comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. This includes funding for recreation and parks programming geared toward protecting and supporting Columbus youth. Superintendent Dixon and the Board of Education asked for our help and asked us to step up our support targeting middle school students with after-school programming. We've taken our lead from them and working in partnership. This budget will dedicate $2 million in after-school programming for middle school-age children who, when exposed to structure, enrichment, and guidance, gain access to the tools they need to establish healthy habits and behaviors that will last a lifetime. We'll have a pilot program starting next year with programming at 3 to 5 schools. We'll be able to offer at 10 schools in the following school year, working in partnership with the school district, but other great partners. Doug Wolf and his team are here from the Boys and Girls Club of Central Ohio. They'll help to lead this effort, and we'll be bringing other partners on board. Doug, thanks for your leadership, you and your team, and your commitment to our young people in our city. This work is far from finished, but we're already seeing results. Columbus homicides have dropped more than 30% from this time last year and 15% since this time in 2020. Progress made possible by our officers and our community coming together to end this cycle of violence. But we will not rest until we're the safest big city in America. Investments from this budget will help bring that vision closer to reality. But it isn't just neighborhood safety we're working to improve. It's also neighborhood affordability. I mentioned earlier the strength of our local economy. The last 2 years have been record-setting years for job creation, an important measure by which we access economic vitality. But with a booming economy also comes a booming population. Over the last decade, Columbus grew more than any other city in Ohio, and we were the only Midwestern city to gain at least 100,000 residents. The influx of residents to our region is squeezing an already tight housing market, driving up the cost of buying a home, while the supply of housing hovers near historic lows. We need more homes at every price point, but also a housing strategy that prioritizes equity and inclusion. That's why we launched the Columbus Housing Strategy earlier this year, which outlines specific actions we're taking in collaboration with our regional partners to preserve existing affordability, invest in housing the market won't provide, and include everyone by fostering economically diverse neighborhoods. My 2023 budget includes funding for additional staff to support our housing strategy, a vital step forward to ensuring that no resident spends more than 30% of their income to live in safe, decent housing in a neighborhood of their choice. We believe strongly that everybody that works in our region should be able to afford to live here too. This budget also allocates $10 million for human service grants to assist our city's most vulnerable residents with meeting their basic needs, including housing. Homes shape who we are. I know mine did growing up. They provide shelter, security, stability. They're where we form our earliest bonds and traditions, where we envision our hopes and our dreams. We all know what homes can do for a family, what families do for neighborhoods, what neighborhoods do for cities. We continue to implement the strategies developed by Columbus residents in the One Linden and Envision Hilltop plans. Next year, in 2023, we will roll out a similar resident-driven plan for the East Lynn neighborhood. Meanwhile, our Building and Zoning Services continues the thoughtful process to update the city zoning code for the first time in 70 years, activating new processes and procedures that will speed up the rate at which new housing comes to market. Our neighborhoods are what makes this city so special. We want them to be as vibrant, prosperous, and sustainable as they possibly can be. Our residents deserve this much. Our families deserve this much. And this budget is how we get there, by funding and improving core city services. A few examples I'd like to share with you all today. We're devoting more than $2.1 million to continue to tackle illegal dumping and take our efforts to the next level. This includes hiring new solid waste investigators to educate residents on proper waste disposal and prosecute cases of illegal dumping in city alleyways. Many of you know firsthand what this looks like, but we all know it needs to stop. Our neighborhoods are not dumping grounds, and we will not tolerate it. We're dedicating more staff and vehicles to focus on areas where dumping, refuse, container overflow, and litter are more widespread, taking on these hotspots as they're identified and reported with greater speed, efficiency, and capacity than ever before. But we also understand there are times when residents need to dispose of items that are too difficult or bulky to properly sort through or break down. There are also times, especially during the holidays, when refuse containers aren't large enough to handle the unusually high demand of households. We're working to solve that by allocating funds for 2 new waste and reuse convenience centers at Alum Creek and Georgesville Road refuse collection transfer stations, both of which are scheduled to open next summer. These resources will be available for residents to discard trash, recyclables, bulk items, and yard waste. Plans are also underway to pilot a new food waste drop-off program at these sites beginning next spring, helping to divert these items from the landfill and enhance our city's ever-growing sustainability footprint. Reducing what we send to the landfill reduces our carbon emissions. Reducing our carbon emissions is how we will achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, the cornerstone of our city's climate action plan. To propel this plan forward, and thereby ensuring cleaner neighborhoods and a healthier environment, I'm excited to announce that this budget allocates $6 million to expand residential recycling collection to once a week, beginning in the summer of 2023. We expect weekly recycling service will increase the amount of collected recyclable materials from 25% to 40%, moving us considerably closer to meeting even more of the Climate Action Plan's wide-ranging sustainability goals. Again, safety, affordability, and core city services. These are the central pillars of this budget. We aren't simply maintaining our momentum, we're accelerating it through both our investments and our improvements. There's a lot to celebrate in this budget. We're grateful for the strong financial position we are in today because of our dedicated staff and the tireless efforts of our neighbors. But we know that our financial fortunes could shift at any moment. Certainly, all of us have learned that in the last few years. We must remain vigilant. We're keeping a watchful eye on economic conditions locally and globally that could impact life in Central Ohio and affect the stability of essential revenue streams. That's why we're restoring and reserving additional funds dedicated to emergency spending should we sustain another financial hit like the one we endured during the pandemic. Last year's operating budget was balanced using $50 million from the Basic City Services Fund. Now we're returning $40 million to that fund while taking the city's rainy day fund to the next level. Originally, our goal was to build the rainy day fund to $90 million by the end of 2024. We've met this goal 2 years early, and we're setting a new target, $114 million, or 10% of this proposed budget by the end of 2027. It's a way for us to invest in ourselves, protect our AAA bond rating from all three rating agencies. We're one of the few big cities in America that has such recognition. We're also dedicating the remaining balance of our federal stimulus dollars to supporting the basic needs of residents and businesses. And we're working with neighborhood leaders and partners throughout the community to improve lives, close gaps in equity and opportunity, and open doors for everyone to thrive and reach their full potential. Together, we're growing the winner's circle here in Columbus. Shared prosperity, growth, opportunity. We're setting the stage for continued success and economic vitality in the years to come. Director Owens and I would be happy to take any questions from the press.
Steve? How difficult was it in light of what forecasters are saying, there's a possible recession, they're raising interest rates? How was it knowing those things, putting together this budget?
Well, we're blessed with a great finance director and finance team and an auditor and great working relationship with Columbus City Council to make some decisions over the last few years. But we would not be in the position we are, Steve, without the CARES Act and the rescue plan, bottom line. They were absolutely critical for us weathering this pandemic and being in the position we're in now. But as you know, there's still a great deal of uncertainty. Only 1% of local governments in America are funded with income tax. I think they're all here in Ohio. So with remote work, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And it's going to be our top priority working with the governor and the state legislature to provide some predictability and certainty around remote work and income tax in the years ahead. 2 years of economic development and job creation, historic high levels also helped us. It's difficult to balance both the global pandemic and the amount of jobs created in the last 2 years. And so to Director Stevens and the team at development, the private sector have been absolutely critical for us being in such a strong position.
Mayor, can you just talk more about the expansion of the recycling pickup program? When is that going to happen, and how much will that cost? And is there still a market for these recyclables? Is that partially funding it?
Yeah, I'll let Director Gallagher maybe speak to more of the details. I thought I saw Tim here too, either one of them. $6 million, and it starts next summer? And what was the last question, Bill?
Is there still a market for recyclables? Is that what's funding it, or where does the money come from?
I know enough about that to be dangerous. Tim, do you want to speak to that? Where are you, Tim? Oh, there it is.
There is a market for the recyclables. There's actually a shortage in some of the cardboard and paper market, so they're actually asking us to find more recyclables in those materials. Plastics goes up and down. Currently, it's flat right now, but the paper, plastics, and cardboard are in high demand.
Yeah, and our goal here, the only way we're going to reach our climate action goal plans is to dramatically increase diversion and the amount of materials we're recycling. So we think this can take us from about a 25% to 40% participation rate in recycling. And we continue to hear it from residents. We gave a briefing with community leaders hosted by Public Health, organized by neighborhoods last night, and I would say that the investments that we're proposing around illegal dumping and basic city services, refuse, changing out the larger containers for smaller containers, and weekly recycling were some of the most positive responses, in addition to neighborhood safety last night. Any other questions from the press? I'll ask the director, maybe all of our directors, to stick around for a few minutes if you have any one-on-ones or detailed follow-ups. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Thank you.